Welcome to LOVEUltras. I'm John Kynaston and this is number 11. I thought for this latest episode of LOVEUltras I would do something about my injury and an update on how things are going. I hadn't planned to do any more of these until after my holiday. It's now Friday the 30th of June 2017 and we're off to Bali in Indonesia tomorrow for a few weeks, 4 weeks in fact, to visit Emma and Jonas and our little grandson Noah. Can't wait to go. So I thought I probably wouldn't do one until I went, but I thought it would be quite helpful just to give an update on my injury. And thank you so much for those that have left comments on my blog or been in touch just to see how things were going. Really appreciate it. Basically, my ankle, the tendon, the tibialis posterior tendon is getting better by the day. It's probably where it is this time last week, but it's still a long way to go. As soon as I walk downstairs or put any weight on it, then it's sore. So I really want to try and get it sorted out. And yesterday I went to see Matt Williamson, who is an excellent physio and great ultra runner, good friend. And so I went to see him and he gave me some good advice and help on that. And in fact, I asked him whether he wouldn't mind if I videoed our little session so that I could share it as well about the plan to try and get it right. My plan initially was to run the Devil's Race, which is 5 weeks tomorrow, and then 4 weeks after that to run the Ring of Fire. But I was pretty keen that I would only do those races if I was going to be injury free. And so it was great to get a professional help from Matt and get an idea, and you'll see what he says. And I asked him, I say, whether I could do these videos, and he said that was fine. So basically there's 4 little clips of the session that we did yesterday. The first one, Matt shows me the app and he shows me exactly the tendon that I've hurt and that's sore, and he showed me why, because my running style with my bunion. Then he did a little bit of work massaging it just to sort of ease it off, and I asked him a few questions about what I should be doing in recovery and particularly in plans for the next 2 races I've got for this year. And I've got the Glen Ogle after that in November. And then we did a bit of ultrasound where he just sort of showed how that works, and then put a bit of tape on. And then we spent some time just talking about rehab of what I can do, different exercises. So that was the first 4 video clips that you'll see now. So Matt's just going to show me where the problem is.
Okay. So there's a number of different tendons that sit and run in behind the ankle, which help to stabilize the ankle. This one here that's highlighted is the tibialis posterior muscle. So the tendon itself wraps from underneath the foot here, where the insertion points are, wraps around the medial border of your foot and then up, and it attaches into, if I just let's see, isolate this muscle on its own, so it runs right up the back of the leg, there, that's where the muscle runs and that's where the tendon is. And part of that, the action of that, is helping stabilize the foot in terms of medial movements or medial and lateral movements of your foot. So if you imagine your foot is like this. So this is your heel and these are your toes. So your tendon wraps in and underneath around like that. Part of the way your foot actually lands is your foot actually lands slightly to the outside, which you notice on the wear of your foot. So every time your foot lands like this, your foot is then rolling in as it goes through the movement to then allow you to push off. And when you do that, this tendon has to work what you call eccentrically, which means that it's working but it's lengthening at the same time, and that's loading that up. So if you imagine every time you do that in a running stride, that is just loading up and loading up through that tendon. So the more that loads up, you then begin to get excess strain on that tendon and it begins to get sore. And that's pretty much where the issue's kind of coming in for you.
Yeah.
So I just want you to just tell me again how it's feeling in terms of any tenderness along through there.
Yeah, that's okay there at the moment. Yeah, it's that. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So that's this little bit just insert through there, and then again, if you can just take your foot inwards slightly, so just like that, and just push your foot downwards and into my foot a little bit. Any pain as you sort of do that as well?
Yeah. It's not massive pain, but I can definitely.
You can feel something and stuff like that with it, right? Okay, so I'm just going to run my fingers further up through here. And how's that feeling?
Yeah, that's okay up there.
Okay. So we're just going to have a bit of a go, just having a little bit of a loosen off through there. we'll pop another drop of ultrasound onto it like we did last time, and we'll kind of go from there. So just bend that knee up for me. A bit further if you can.
So we were just discussing, Matt, about the way forward. I've got had planned to do the Devil's Race, which is 5 weeks away, but the big one is the Ring of Fire, which is 9 weeks or 4 weeks after the Devils. So what would you, in your professional opinion, suggest?
So at this point in things like this, I don't like telling people that they shouldn't be running, but at this point in time, you're at a point in time that you're finding it difficult, sore walking downstairs even. On the start of the race at the weekend, you were sore right from the get-go of that race. So in my mind, that's telling me that there is a period now that we need to stop you from your running, get you onto some non-weight bearing exercise, some cross-training, and really focus on some rehab to try and strengthen this tendon back up again, and then get you back into a gradual reintroduction to some running again. In terms of our timeline, we've got the Devils in 5 weeks, and the Ring of Fire 4 weeks after that. It's probably going to be a bit of an ask to get you back fully fit for the Devils. We could probably hopefully be getting you back running certainly by then, but my mind would probably be that we take the Ring of Fire as your A race and aim for getting you back for that.
Yeah. And you think that's realistic?
At this point in time, it depends on how disciplined you are with your rehab with it. I think that in normal circumstances that should be enough time to get you back and ready for that race, all being well. Human bodies are complicated old things, and you can't always guarantee things, but I'd be hoping for getting you back for that anyway. Yeah,
I think that concerns me, I suppose, is that that's a 3-day event. So if I go into that with it still sore, I might get through the first day, 35 miles, but then I've got 65 on the Saturday. So I only really want to do it if I feel it's healed enough to be able to realistically get to the end.
Yeah, and when you do ultras and you race that sort of distance, it's very difficult to give 100% guarantees on things like that. Yeah. And that's where, as I say, I would really just be looking for you hitting certain rehab landmarks over the next few weeks to see, can we get you doing certain things before we progress you on. And we just need to really see how the rehab and the upping the mileage as a gradual reintroduction sort of goes with that. Yeah. There's, as I say, as long as we get this rehab properly and settled back down, there shouldn't be a reason we can't get you through that. Most musculoskeletal things will settle themselves down, and as long as you get the strength back up in it, then it should tolerate that distance. Yeah.
So at the moment, you just manipulating that, are you?
Yeah, just pretty much just working up along the inside of the tendon and up into the musculature deep in the back of the calf there as well for you.
Good. And then as far as, because we're off on holiday on Saturday to Bali,
yep,
and to visit Emma and Jonas and our grandson. And so obviously I won't be running, but cycling will be okay, because Emma was saying it's a lovely area for taking a bike out on the trails and stuff. So would that be...
Cycling is absolutely no problem for this sort of injury. It's in fact definitely beneficial because it helps keeps you sane, keeps you a bit of fitness up. Yeah. But you've got very little sort of medial and lateral or eversion of the foot with that, so you'll put very little load on that tendon. So absolutely no issue cycling as much as you like, really.
Yeah, and there's some lovely beaches, so I could do some swimming as well.
Swimming, fine, yeah. Lots of, the thing about being on the beach and things like this is the surface is very uneven, so your foot and the tendons in your feet do need to work quite hard, and so you need to be a wee bit careful how much walking and things you're doing on the beach. Okay. And again, in the warmer weather and stuff like this, any sort of particularly low footwear, flat flip-flops and things, well, this will not be good for this. Something with a wee bit more arch support will be a bit more beneficial through that period.
Yeah. I know when we've been in the past, you can get massages for quite a very reasonable price. So would that be something that would be worth
getting some off?
It wouldn't do any harm and things like this. You can continue to get this area worked on, a little bit of loosening off of the muscles and things as you go. It's probably not going to make the biggest difference. Is going to be, as I say, in the little exercises that we're going to run through in a wee bit for you. So that's the biggest thing that will chant that, and a wee bit of time away from the aggravating activity is the biggest thing that will help you get this better now.
So this is just a bit of ultrasound, is it?
Yeah, so a wee bit of ultrasound. So the ultrasound is pretty much just a really high frequency sound wave. Causes a wee bit of vibration and things like this within the tissue. Helps stimulate the healing process and help reduce a wee bit of the inflammation that's in there as well.
So is it best to keep ice in it? Because I've not done too much of that since Saturday.
That's the most important time, just afterwards, just when it's a wee bit more sore. The icing has two effects. It'll have an impact in terms of reducing the soreness down from it. The second thing it will do is it'll help reduce any swelling. There's not loads and loads of puffiness in here at the moment, so the icing's probably not such an important thing at this point in time. But that's the general consensus. Is usually the first few days. The icing is the most important. After that, sometimes actually heat can be a beneficial thing to try and increase blood flow to the area, but it all just depends exactly on how the tissue's behaving.
Just put a bit of this rock tape on again, eh?
Yeah, it's sort of kinesio tape or whatever you're going to call it. Sort of it just basically, I'm just running this along the rough line of the tendon. It gives you a wee bit of proprioceptive feedback to the tendon, and just helps support the tendon a touch. There's also thoughts that in theory that it kind of gives a slight lifting sensation underneath the tendon or above the tendon to help increase the blood flow and stuff like that to the area. So.
I've actually got some of this that we bought for Katrina one time. Is it worth me trying to put
it certainly wouldn't do any harm, certainly for the next week or so. So again, take the end off as I just did. Apply it with no tension on here, and then pull a little bit of tension, just wrapping from underneath your foot around just behind the ankle where it's sore, right, and then up and onto the calf there. You'll certainly not do any harm, and it might give you just a wee bit of extra support as well.
So after Matt had done that, and after he'd worked it through, and we talked through about what I should be doing, we talked about the rehab of how to improve. Like I say, I'm going to be away for 4 weeks, so he's keen to give me some exercises to be able to do. And I'm going to try and do them every day and try and be faithful doing those to see if that will speed up my recovery and help strengthen that tendon that needs to be repaired. And Matt put me onto a video on YouTube, and I'm going to put that on now. So this was what Matt suggested, and then we basically talked through these exercises. I'm probably a step back from the first one where you do it with 1 foot off the ground and balance it. I can't quite do that yet. So Matt suggested I stand up and put both feet down and try and strengthen it. And then once I can do that, then lift the other foot up and just do it standing, and then the different movements. So the next video is the video from YouTube that Matt suggested that I take with me and use that as a basis for my rehab.
The tibialis posterior muscle runs along the back side of your leg, and its tendon inserts on the medial aspect of your arch. It's responsible for arch support and decelerating subtalar pronation. In order to strengthen the tibialis posterior, we want to do it in a closed kinetic chain manner. So you're going to start by standing on one leg, finding your balance. Do not use any of the walls for support. You're going to raise your arch as high as you can off the ground and lower slowly, and you'll repeat several times. You'll progress from a single leg balance to a more dynamic progression that's going to mimic a running motion. You're going to start with the high arch and maintain that high arch throughout the exercise as you move your hip through extension into flexion. You want to maintain your balance as best as you can. You may occasionally use a wall for balance, but you may not use it for any support. Perform a single leg supination exercise by standing on a platform with only the lateral or outside half of your foot supported by the platform. The medial or inside aspect of your foot is going to fall off the platform. You'll then raise it as high as you can and hold briefly before lowering again. You want to make sure that your knee is slightly bent and that your knee is over top of your toes the whole time. To perform a bilateral heel raise, you'll place a ball between the heels and medial malleolus of your feet. You'll maintain that pressure as you raise your heels off the ground. You'll keep the motion slow and controlled as you transfer weight from your heels onto the balls of your toes. You may use the wall for balance, but again, you may not use the wall for any support.
So I'd like to thank Matt very much for his help yesterday, and over the last couple of weeks he was, gutted as I was that I couldn't finish the race, and he tried his best to get me ready, but it's probably fair to say that I went to him a bit too late. If I'd gone earlier, then maybe we could have got it sorted out in time for the West Highland Way, but you live and learn. But I want to thank Matt for his help, and certainly if you're looking for a physio and you live in the Glasgow area, then I would recommend Matt. He really knows his stuff and is a great help, particularly if you're a runner, and he understands runners because he is one. So the end result is that I'm going to not do the Devils. I feel comfortable with that because it was going to be a tight ask to be ready in 5 weeks. Matt's hoping that I'll be running by then, but whether I'm able to run 40 miles in a race is another matter. So I think that's the right decision. So I'm going to contact John Duncan and ask him to withdraw me, which means as well, hopefully there's 5 weeks. I'm sure there's a waiting list and there'll be other people who are keen to do that, so they can take that place and be able to enjoy the run. Which then gives me 9 weeks to be able to prepare for the Ring of Fire, and I really hope I'm going to be able to do that, be able to be running in the next 5 weeks, say, and then build up for a few weeks and then have a little taper before that. But I only want to do it if I'm able to complete it, or I've got a good chance to complete it. It's a 3-day event, so if I do 35 miles with an injury, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do 65 miles on the second day, and even less chance to do the third day of 30 odd. So I want to make sure, and if it's still sore, then I'm going to have to abandon that one as well. And I'm prepared to do that. I would rather get myself right and get myself ready for next year if that's what it takes. But we'll see. Hopefully, and Matt seemed quite optimistic that I'll be able to do the Ring of Fire if the rehab goes well and the tendon strengthens and eases off. So watch this space and we'll see. I thought I'd just finish this little LOVEUltras video with a prize giving. I'll probably do a separate one about my Guess My Time competition and why I did it, but basically I've been running these for the last 40 ultras, 41st including the West Highland Way I didn't finish, and asked people, friends and family to guess what time they think I'll finish the race. And over the last few years, Ultra Running Marathon Store has been sponsoring it with some great prizes. And Neil Gibson, our good friend, has been guessing did not finish. And it was his way of encouraging me to finish. He thought that would be a good motivation for me to keep going. And it has been, I must admit, in some of the races, determined that Neil would not win. But this time he did win because I had to stop because it was so sore. So I went round to Neil's for lunch. They very kindly gave me some nice lunch, and then I was able to present him with his limited edition keyring, and his Salomon rucksack is arriving in the next day or so. So I know he's looking forward to trying that out. So congratulations, Neil, your persistence paid off and you finally won with your did not finish time. So anyway, this last little bit is Neil receiving his prize. Congratulations, Neil.
Thank you, John.
I know that you've been guessing this and trying to get one of these for the last few years, guessing your did not finish, and finally, so that was about the only good thing to come out of it. So congratulations.
Thank you very
much.
much.
So there's your limited edition keyring.
That's what it's all about. Not the rucksack, the keyring. And your rucksack is coming. So a big question that people have asked me is, how did you feel when you realised that you had won?
Well, when I saw you in the car park at McDonald's, I dropped my breakfast and ran outside to give you a hug. So that should explain I'm not really happy to win. But it is a very nice rucksack, so every cloud has a silver lining, and I'll take it.
So that disappointment lasted about 5 minutes, maybe?
3.5.
3.5. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to retire did not finish. I don't think I'm going to have that as an option.
It's had its moments.
It has, yeah. So, well done. I hope you've been enjoying these Love Ultra videos. I've enjoyed doing them. That's number 11 I'm up to now. And there will be a little bit of a break now as we go on holiday. And I'll pick them up again in August with a few more topics and some more things that I want to talk about. If you want to continue to listen to them or watch them, if you can go to my blog johnkynaston.com, or you can go to YouTube and search for Love Ultras, one word, and hopefully you'll find me, or just search for Jay Kynaston and find my YouTube channel, and then you can subscribe, and then it lets you know when I post a video. So that's probably the best way of doing it, to get them as things go on. So I'm going to be away for a few weeks, so there'll be a bit of a gap between the next one, but I hope you have a good summer, and whatever you're doing, we're certainly looking forward to heading off to Bali and Indonesia and spending time with Emma and Jonas and our little grandson Noah.